Hey, my friends, it's Friday, another day to build wins live together. And we are going to have an awesome chat today with somebody that's become a really good friend over the last several months at least, Bill McCormick. We're going to talk about selling from the heart. We're going to talk about his involvement as a sales enablement coach. And he's one of his taglines that I love is specialize in returning trust to the sales world. And any of y'all that know me and follow me at all understand that I love sales, but I love doing it the right way. And you're going to get a big kick out of my friend Bill. And we might even have a special picture or two for you, which you're going to find humorous or enjoyable or both. Anyways, we'll be right back. Don't go away. Can you believe it? Here we are, buddy.
Here we are, a special picture.
Well, there might be, you know.
You have a special picture?
I have a special picture I found of you, Bill.
Well, if you show mine, you have to show yours. Yeah, there we go. There we go.
Okay, so don't take that down for a minute, Wes. What year is this, my friend?
This is well, it was probably taken in 1979, 1980, because nice. So I graduated in 81. But our senior pictures are actually taken in our junior year. So go figure. But I'm so glad it's not a color picture. That's a peach colored leisure suit. So yeah. And it was my brother, so it didn't even really fit me well.
So I got to get the picture. So peach covered leisure suit. Mm-hmm. What color's the shirt?
Like a cream colored shirt. Open collar. Notice how the collar's outside of the collar of the jacket. Remember?
Yes. Did they have those great big cuffs with like 8 buttons on them? You know,
huge cuffs. Yeah, that were probably down to about my, the tips of my fingers. And so funny story. So I ran to this. I was late for my picture, and my hair was like a mess. It was wet. And when the pictures were done, I didn't like any of them. So I thought if I didn't pick one, I wouldn't be in the yearbook. And then lo and behold, we get the yearbook, and they chose one for me.
Oh, good.
So imagine how bad the other ones were if this is the best one that was to choose from. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Well, I've got one floating around somewhere. We shared it last night as we was bouncing some stuff back and forth last night, and I had the long hair. I had the
look at that.
Look at that. I had the long hair, and so that was a red, and I mean red, like fire engine red shirt, pure white tie.
I can see it.
That coat, the sport coat, whatever, is kind of a white background with red and green. It's like a Christmas jacket, red and green plaid, and quite striking, I thought, back in 1974. Probably not so much today, but. I'm just glad, Bill, like you said, I'm just glad that the pictures were not in color.
Yeah, right. Yeah.
That would have been quite humorous. But so, the bottom line is the reason I wanted Wes to be, and I asked you if it was okay, but throw these up there is because the theme of today's chat is just 2 old warriors that are not really that old, but now we sort of show we are a little. But going to talk about sales, man, right?
Hey, Randy.
Yes.
I got a update from 1987 for you.
Oh, this is going to scare me. Go ahead. Oh, there he is.
Wes with hair.
Wes with hair.
And I got my perm rocking too, Bill.
Yeah, man. Yeah.
I think that in this situation, we would have asked, Wes, are you happy? If so, tell your face.
Yeah, exactly. Because that looks like you just got invited to the school dance by nobody.
And that also looks like Wes with an earring if you look really close, Randy.
Oh, do you? Okay.
Yeah, you like
Okay. Yeah.
that? The little hoop earring.
I
Good
love it.
deal.
Wes,
Yeah.
Good
you
deal.
were styling. Okay, so
Yeah.
Bill and I were fair and honest. So what year was that, Wes? You got to tell us.
1987.
Okay.
This
All right.
picture was actually taken in 86.
Yeah.
I lost
Yeah.
about 70 pounds after that picture and joined the Marines, but tried to join the Marines. That's a different story. But 1987.
Wow.
Wes is a
Man, oh man.
youngin. Wes is a
The
youngin.
youngin. The Wes is the youngin, and I'm just like I'm so old I don't even know what I'm doing on here. Wow. Well, Wes, that you are a handsome dude, and you know something? It's amazing how I don't know if Xavier is going to find this a good thing or a bad thing, but there's sure a lot of resemblance in his senior picture and yours.
Oh yeah, well definitely in the face, not probably the eyes and stuff. But anyway, guys, we can quit the grab acid and get to some sales. How's that?
Sounds good to me, buddy. Thanks for
Good
sharing,
deal.
Wes. Oh man. So, but yeah. So before we get started, Bill, and thank you by the way for being on, and thank you for all the friendship I've enjoyed getting to know you over the months. Class act, my friend.
Yeah. Oh, thanks so much, and I'm so glad to be here, and so
Yeah,
thankful to your listeners for jumping in. I think I have to
absolutely.
behave. I think my wife is watching. So.
Oh, Susan. So since we're there, and first, real quick, Kirsten, you're number one again. Well job, or well job, well done, or well job. And your mutual friend, I think, Bill Callanan. Do you know Callanan?
I do know
Yeah,
Callanan. Hey, Callanan, great to see you.
yeah. She's probably sitting out floating in the pool making cards at WoW or something right now. I'm gonna guess with a pug on her lap or something. But so I mentioned Sue. Tell me a little bit about who's Bill before we get rolling here.
So, who is Bill? I've been trying to figure it out my whole life.
The world wants to know.
So I got started in sales like back in the 80s, 90s. You could see the picture. Was never really good at it, basically because back then it was all about what you could do for your clients, not from a service point of view, but I was in the grocery industry,
Okay.
Randy. So if you were the grocery manager, you didn't care about the Keebler cookies I had or the Canada Dry ginger ale I was selling. You cared about whether I could get you first base seats at the Yankees game or 50-yard line tickets at the Giants back when the Giants were really good. No one ever asked for Jets tickets, so but that's a whole nother thing.
Or Mets, no Mets.
Yeah,
either?
or Mets, but that's what it was about, and I didn't play that game. I felt that if I provided you value and I was giving you a good product, that should mean something. And so I ended up getting out of sales for a while, and then I met my wife, and we fast forward to 2013, so 9 years ago today. I was a 911 dispatcher at a county-run dispatch center here in New York. I'm in upstate New York. I'm in the Albany area. Back then, at that point in time, it was down in the Kingston area. And my wife worked in the print and promotional products world. And she worked for a company. It was just her and her boss. Very successful company, international company. They did, mainly they did work in the capital region of New York City, and Bermuda. And he died rather suddenly. And we were right in the area where we were going back and forth with his family about what they were going to do with the business, because her boss had wanted her to buy it and run with it.
Okay.
Whatever reason, they decided, his family, who had never been involved in the business before, had decided that they were going to keep it. And I remember on a Wednesday, they told my wife that we've decided we're keeping it, and we've hired a business manager and a bookkeeper, and they start on Monday, the next Monday, and those were the jobs my wife did. And so we walked out, and we decided to start our own business. And because I had sales background, guess who became the de facto sales guy?
There you go.
It was me. And quickly learned that LinkedIn was a place where our clients could find us, because they couldn't find my wife because she was no longer at that company. They found her on LinkedIn. So that kind of got me into the LinkedIn mode. And I started basically doing trainings for my networking groups, my BNIs and my chambers for free. And that led me to trying to do some paid stuff. And then I was in Bermuda in the fall of 2017 or 2018. And a bank that we had done business with as a promotional products customer knew I did LinkedIn training and said, hey, can you train our mortgage folks and people how to do LinkedIn? And like any good salesman, even though I had no clue how to do it, I said, sure, I can do that. Yeah.
Absolutely.
I was in an engagement group on LinkedIn that Bryn Tillman ran. And on that group, I just said, hey, I need some help. I have got a bank that needs some LinkedIn training. I'm not sure how to deliver it or what to charge. And Bryn was the first one to jump in and say, hey, I work with banks all the time. I can help you. So we started to collaborate, which led me to going and working with Social Sales Link. And that was great. And then up until right about the end of 2021, I really felt like I wanted to expand into more sales training, not just social sales training, not just LinkedIn. I had become really good friends with a guy, you may have heard of him, Larry Levine. And he wrote this really cool book. Well, you have yours right side up. If Larry sees it, all right, I'm probably going to get fired.
Yeah, exactly.
Larry and
I'm available, Larry.
Larry and I just hit it off.
Wes
all right, there's Wes has got it right. All right, I'll do the stickers right. Okay, no empty suits.
Well, I had my stickers here someplace. Yeah, but I can't find those. But
so Larry and I just became really great friends. In fact, we had a call this morning, and now that we're working together, we don't have regular calls. It's really kind of funny. And so earlier in the week, he emailed me. He said, "We've got to get on a call. We got to talk." And so, he just reached out. He said, hey, listen, selling from the heart is a movement, and a movement just can't be a couple of people. It's Daryl and Larry, and then Jackie Joy is also there. And so we'd like to, if you're open, we'd like to offer you a position as a coach and trainer. And I jumped at it because I believe so much in the message. And I believe that it is a movement because we have to do some things differently. If we don't do things differently, I'm really afraid that the vocation of sales may disappear.
Yeah, that's a great point. And yes, Larry was on Building Wins here with us a few months ago. We had a great conversation. Kirsten says she has it on audio. Send us a message. Are you loving it, Kirsten? I'm sure she is. If not, Wes, don't put it up. No, I'm just kidding. But no, I really. The second the book came out, I got excited about it, and I've read it all. As soon as I got it, within 3-4 days, probably. And now I'm doing the skimming again, going and finding parts that I really enjoyed.
And if any of your listeners, if they don't have the book, a physical copy of the book, just connect with me on LinkedIn, send me a message. I'm happy to put a book in your hands for sure.
Look, Kirsten's a slow learner. She listened to it twice already. That's okay. Kirsten and I go way back, so I can tease her because she was my first official bartender when I was old enough to drink. And she's actually younger than me, so I guess I wasn't just old enough to drink, but at that bar, maybe. Anyway, yeah, great book. But it is. So tell us about that movement a little bit. What's selling from the heart for people that don't know?
So it is really a movement of returning trust and credibility back to the vocation of sales. The Edelman Trust Barometer tells us that salespeople are the second to the last when it's in from most trusted to least trusted. We're the second to the last. Randy, any idea who's the bottom of the rung there in terms of trust?
I'm going to take a wild guess. It's attorneys.
No, attorneys are actually just above us in sales. All right, they're the third. Last is politicians.
That makes sense.
So we're sandwiched in between attorneys and politicians. That's not good company. Now, in all fairness, that's car salesmen. But listen, let's face it. When you say the word salesman, people think cars. They lump us all. They lump us all together.
And Bill, am I not correct? But lawyers and politicians are one and the same, are they not? In many cases.
Many cases. So unfortunately. So and there's people. Well, I'm not a salesman. Everyone's a salesman. Everyone is in sales to some point. If you're a parent, you sell a bedtime and a healthy snack to your kids. Right. If you're a spouse or a partner, you sell a place to eat, or you sell where to go on vacation, what you want to do for the day. You're selling that. If you're a boss, you're selling to your employees all the time. If you're an employee, you're selling to your boss, to get a raise. Now, if you're a parent of teenagers, that's hostage negotiation, and that's a whole nother webinar. That's my dad joke for the day.
That's a good one.
But what really selling from the heart of it is, the book is really all about the person, right? Because we can only control ourselves. And so if I want to change the way that my clients perceive me and my prospects perceive me, I have to work on me. I have to get my heart right? Because, all major religions have this idea that the heart and the head are connected. In Christianity, Jesus said, out of the overflow of the heart, the mouth speaks. But even in Hinduism and the Muslim faith and Buddhism, there's this idea that what's in our hearts ends up coming out of us. And so selling from the heart is really about being a good human. And if we're a good human, we'll be a good salesperson.
Exactly. So when did Larry start this, the book, or the book was out and then did he probably never, and I'm sure we talked about this when he was on, but the movement that started, it probably came out as I'm going to write a book and hope somebody likes it, right? And it took off as a movement. When did that all happen?
Yeah, I think really, and I don't know the exact dates of everything that happened, but basically, Larry worked in the copier channel space in LA, one of the toughest markets, and suddenly found himself out of a job. He was part owner, and I might not have all of this story correct, but he was actually part owner of a company and was voted out. And what he decided was to take all this knowledge, and it was really at the urging of his wife Robin and his good friend Daryl Amy, and they decided, you know what, we're going to do this. And then from there, they also decided to do the podcast, which is this idea of let's spread this word. Let's find influencers and sales leaders to come on and talk to everyone about what selling from the heart means from them. Right? If you listen to the podcast, it's the first question they ask every single time. I was on in November, and I remember like, oh, I got to get this right. What does selling from the heart mean to me? And so, and then from there, when the pandemic hit, they were like, you know what, we've got to do something to help. And they started building a community. And so that's where the Insiders Group comes. We meet every Friday. I just got off at 1:00 from noon to 1:00 Eastern every Friday. We gather as a community and we mastermind. We have people come in. In fact, next Friday, the 17th of June, Andy Paul is going to be in as part of the Up Close and Personal. I can get a free pass to anyone who would like to come in and see that. And he's going to do a smaller session, much more intimate, on his book, Selling Without Selling Out. And so then we mastermind together. Like the following week, we'll mastermind what Andy talked about, and we'll help each other. Nice. We just got off a call today. We were talking about prospecting and why prospecting is so hard for salespeople. And what's so cool, Andy, Randy.
It works.
Just drop the R. What's so neat about it is that you have people like, there's a girl, Kayla, who's just, she's in her 20s and she's just brand new in starting in sales. And then you have people like some of us who are a little older than that, a little over 20 over our 20s. Right. And so we learn from each other, because just because my hair is gray, what I have left of it, and I've been in an industry for a long time, doesn't mean I know everything. In fact, oftentimes it means that I have more to learn, especially with how things are changing.
Right. That's an incredible segue into one of the things I had mentioned pre-show that I wanted to talk about is you just said things are changing. And as you know, my history I talk about a lot is I was the typical old school road warrior, right? I just pound the roads, flights, hotels, week after week after week after week. And then but I knew I needed to change some of that, but I probably never would have, except for I was forced to with the whole COVID lockdown part of the world there. And man, did I learn a lot in the last 2.5 years. And my whole way of selling is changed. Not the way of selling. I still sell as a personal relationship building, but using the technology to my advantage has been huge. And so what have you learned with that, going from, I guess, more the old school, as you say, to the new world?
Well, it's had to open up the ways that we communicate with our clients. because suddenly the people who are trying to cold call, the people who are door pullers, would just go from restaurant to restaurant or small business to small business and pull doors. They couldn't. Things were shut down. You call the phone, there was nobody there. And so suddenly we had to do this pivot. That was the cheesy word of the year for 2020. And we had to find new ways. And so to open up these ideas and, being older, one of the things somebody said to me, what are you thankful for we were on a networking call, and it was the question of the day. What are you thankful for due to COVID? I said, I'm thankful for technology. Because, 10 years ago, this wouldn't have been really possible. I don't think we had the bandwidth and the internet to do this. Can you imagine what would have happened to the economy? And so what I learned was we have to embrace everything. We have to be open-minded for more things. I've been talking a lot about echo chambers lately. And if your listeners aren't familiar, an echo chamber in business is described as an environment in which a person or a company encounters only beliefs or opinions that coincide with their own, and so their existing views are reinforced and alternative ideas are not considered. So we get locked into this box that we're in. And I remember in 2000, probably 2018, probably or early 2019, some sales influencers, sales trainers, famous names that some people that I respect and have learned from, did a webinar where they basically slammed social selling and slammed the idea that, you can make appointments and you can close deals on LinkedIn, on Facebook. You have to call, you have to pick up the phone. And they did that. Now they all have trainings available on how to use LinkedIn, on how to leverage social. Now, some would say, oh, that's hypocritical. No, they adapted to the times and they figured out we have to embrace everything. We have to be more open. I remember doing a LinkedIn training in the promotional products world. I used to do that. And I was teaching about how to leverage LinkedIn to make appointments and to get yourself known and to gain more business. And a guy raised his hand very timidly and said, hey, listen, I cold call. Do I have to stop doing that? And I said, well, how's that working for you? He says, I have about a 75% success rate of getting an appointment, and I have an 85% success rate from those appointments of getting a sales. And I said, don't stop doing what you're doing. Those numbers are astounding. They're outstanding. So, but be open to this, right? So that was probably 2018 or 17 that I ran into that guy. I'm sure in 2020 he had to change. And so we have to be open to multiple channels. And I liken it to, if you're a golfer, you have 14 clubs in the bag when you go out to play golf. And when you step up to the tee box and you're facing, whether it's a 130-yard par 3 or it's a 500 par 5, you're never, ever, ever going to use your putter off the tee box. You're never going to do that unless you're just goofing around, right? What are you going to do? You're going to use the appropriate club. And it's the same in our sales as we're talking about the new ways of doing things. We have to figure out what is going to work best here. There's the golden rule and the platinum rule. The golden rule is to treat others the way that you want to be treated, that's okay. But what if that person doesn't want to be treated the way that you want to be treated? I use ice cream as an example, although my wife and I don't eat ice cream anymore, but we'll say yogurt, frozen yogurt. If I was to treat my wife with the golden rule, I love peach, the flavor peach. I love peach ice cream, peach yogurt. My wife hates peach. If I was to treat her the way that I want to be treated and I give her peach ice cream, I'm in a lot of trouble, right? So what we want to do is do the platinum rule, is to treat others the way that they want to be treated. And in order to do that, we have to have a relationship, Randy. You and I have to have a conversation for me to find out how you want to be treated. And so to go back to the analogy, not to mix metaphors, which I'm doing, but go back to the, what club is best for me to use in this case to get closer to the whole? What way of outreach is best? There's no sense cold calling someone if they never answer the phone. My wife and I, in our promotional products business, had a client in New York City. It was a private men's club. And the person we always dealt with was not only the executive chef, he was also the general manager. We would send him emails, he would never reply. And one day I went down to see him and he says, Bill, I hate email. He says, and plus every 30 days, the way that our cybersecurity thing works, all my emails are wiped off. He says, so if you send me an email, I lose track. I'm like, oh, duh.
Yep.
Now we found out if we just call Greg answers the phone, and now everything's fine.
Yeah.
But we tend to think our way is the best way, and we get into that echo chamber, and we don't open ourselves up to new ideas. And I think that's one of the great things that's happened during the pandemic. It's open people's minds to say, okay, I need to try it in different ways. Because if I haven't said this, I'll say it. If you're any time you use the word never, only, or always in terms of your outreach, in terms of how you deal with your customers, you're setting yourself up for failure. You're in an echo chamber, and you're not. If you need to get different results, you have to do something differently.
Right. Yeah, that's excellent. That's excellent, spot on stuff right there. And as funny as oh, excuse me, I was at a summit a month and a half ago, and one of the speakers, I want to say her name is Amy Furman. She's a doctor of something, way smarter than me. But she talked about how Wes, I saw you nodding your head. Stop. Anyways, you see, but she talked about how all the different we have up to 5 generations sometimes in businesses right now, right?
Yeah.
And she really went in. It was engaging because she talked about how if you as a boomer try talking to an Xer and don't go where they live, you've lost them forever because they're just going to walk away from you, literally.
Absolutely.
And I think that's what you're hitting on and we have to do that in social media too, right? In virtual and where we go, because I know that I'm a LinkedIn fan. That's my go-to period.
Mm-hmm.
But I also know that I need to start doing I do some Instagram, but not as much as I should. I know I need to do some TikTok stuff. I'm not going to do dancing with goats and goofy stuff, but my point is, because I can't dance and goats scare me. But anyway, but you got to go where they live, right? Because that 25-year-old might be he might be the general manager, the sales manager, the purchasing director 4 years from now, right? And I'm going to lose him if I don't go where he lives. I guess that's the point, right?
Yeah, well, and I think what you have to know is your ideal client, the clients you're dealing with, what channels are they on? I deal mainly with salespeople in the B2B space. And so that means LinkedIn. And I have a LinkedIn training background, so that's where I'm really strong. I use Facebook mainly for my personal. I have TikTok. I actually tried. When I was doing LinkedIn training, I did hashtag LinkedIn Dad. That was my thing. And I would do a dad joke, and then I do a LinkedIn tip. And I did like 3 videos, and I was like, look, I don't have time for this. And my clients, they're not on LinkedIn now. My clients are I'm sorry, they're not on TikTok now. My clients are on LinkedIn. That's where I'm going to live. So I think you have to be really careful that you spread yourself too thin, and suddenly it's all about content and creating content, and suddenly you're not making calls, or you're not doing any prospecting, and suddenly your funnel dries up. But wait, I'm creating content. Mark Hunter says it best: you can't take likes and clicks to the bank. Right. What you want to do on social, whatever channel you're on, is you want to make sure that whatever activity you're doing is driving conversations. Yeah. And that's the whole thing. And as Scott Schilling says, we have to come into those engagements with high intention and low expectation. Very high intention for me to say, I want to help you. How can I help you? But before I help you, I have to find out about you. So I have to be really curious about what makes Randy tick, and what is it that Randy is facing? What issues is he facing? And then can I move the needle on that? And can I help that? And that might be on LinkedIn, or it might be on Facebook, but we have to figure that out, because if we're jumping all around the social hoops, but we're not putting people at the top of our funnel, then we run the risk of having a lot of activity, but no activity, if you know what I mean.
Exactly. Hey, our mutual friend, I think you know Eric Bam.
Yes.
Some would say content is a sales call. No? Question mark.
It's marketing for sure. I don't sell in my content. I put out ideas in my content, and I look for engagement with that idea. And then I look for an opportunity to take that engagement to a next step of like, wow, Eric, that was a great point you made about my content around XYZ. It'd be great to jump on a call if you're open to talk about that further. And so taking it from there. But selling on content, like there's one LinkedIn trainer, he puts out posts that are this long, and it's always driving to his paid course that he has. And I'm like, dude, I don't read it anymore. It's gone. It's, that to me is too much. So what I believe with content is I use that to engage my audience. I find out not what I want to talk about, but what do they want to talk about. That's really key, because listen, one of the things that frustrates me about LinkedIn is automation. People that use automation. First of all, if you're using automation on LinkedIn, you're more than likely breaking LinkedIn's terms of use, and you will get shut down. It's not a question of if you will, it's when you will. But when I write about automation, my clients, my VPs of sales and CROs and CSOs, they don't care about it. What they care about is the fact that their people, their teams, their sales teams are having trouble having conversations and setting appointments. That's what I write content about. So I think you have to find out, what do your clients care about? What are their pain points? And create content that helps answer those questions. Can that be considered a sales call? It can definitely lead to a sales conversation.
Right. Perfect. So you just kind of touched on something that's with the automation, and for folks that maybe don't use social media, and specifically LinkedIn a lot, the spamming, I don't know how many times a day. So as a rep agency, right? That's my real job, and in the metal roofing and the post frame building industry. So let's stick with the metal roofing for a second. Literally within seconds, sometimes, of somebody reaching out to me, I get this, like you said, it's automation, because it's like, would you be interested in learning how in a 10-minute call I can get you 17,900 more roofing leads a month? And it's like, I've sent back sometimes, dude, did you read my profile? I'm not a roofer.
Right.
And so, and I told one guy, he wouldn't stop, and I said, you've lost me for life, just because of the fact that not only did you not pay any attention, but now you want to argue with me, right? And so what do you think about that?
Well, so what we have to do is we have to treat social, virtual, what we have even right here, right now, as if it's face to face. I know, Randy, you'll remember, is it live or is it Memorex, right? Right. So it was a great commercial back in the 70s and 80s with Ella Fitzgerald, and they would play a tape. They actually brought her manager in and said, is this Ella singing or is it the tape? And he couldn't tell, and it actually shattered a glass. And so that was the thing, is it live or is it Memorex? We have to really treat this as if we're talking to the person in person, even as we're engaging with them on LinkedIn. Picture a real live networking event, and you walk in and there are people spread out, they're in their little groups, they're having chats. And I go up to the first group, hey, a card for you and a card for you and a card for you and a card for you. And I can help companies just like you. And listen, I've done that. Okay. I mean, I've been the fastest card in the room. And what do people do? They kind of look at that person, that guy or that gal, and kind of roll their eyes and go, nobody calls that guy or that gal. Right. They don't. And that's what we're doing with this automation, this whole connect and pitch. And so, first of all, that definitely violates LinkedIn's terms of use. Okay. It's section 8.2.2. And then there's another one that's like section 13 that says you can't use any automation. You can't use anything that scrapes. You can't use any extension. So if you have an extension that does something, you violate LinkedIn's terms of use. If they discover that, you'll get in jail the first time, which will be 24 to 48 hours. I know some people have been locked out of their account up to 72 hours. The second time, you'll get another message and you'll get locked out for longer. And they'll say, and the next time you'll lose access. The third time, third strikes, you're out. You'll be able to access your account, but nobody will be able to find you. Gotcha. And you will not be able to connect with anybody else. So be warned. And, there's all kinds of software out there that does it, and they're allowed to use LinkedIn's API. So the company's not violating anything, but you are as
Right.
the user. And so here's what I suggest to everybody. When you see something like that, don't get into an argument, because that's what it is. Block them, report them as spam, and just move on, or just ignore them. Just delete the request.
Yeah, that's what I do.
What I do is what typically I get is no note at all. It's just a connection request. So every single one that reaches out to me that way gets a reply that says, and this is the only kind of automation I use on LinkedIn. I use Magical Text Expander, which I just have a short code, and it puts out the paragraph right in there for me. It says, "Hey, Randy, thank you for your invite to connect. Typically, I only connect with people that I've either met in person or have had engagement with here on LinkedIn. Can you tell me how you found me and what it was about my profile that triggered the connection request?" About half the time, I get no reply at all, because they don't know why.
Yeah.
The other half of the quarter, send me back a pitch, because it's automation. So it automatically sends that through, of which I go back and say, "I'm not interested. Thank you." Or I may engage with them, because remember, I at my heart, I'm a LinkedIn trainer. So I may say, "Hey, I'm curious, how is this working for you?" Because people don't like this.
Right.
And then another quarter of the people are really genuine and say, "Oh, well, I heard you on Randy's live stream, and you said connect, so I connect." That's that's it. And you just have to accept that. Do you know Todd Capone?
I know who he is. Yes.
Right. So he has the history of sales, and what he says is, salespeople break every new technology that comes out. Not only do they break it, they misuse it to the point where it has to be legislated against. Right. So the telephone, right? The caller ID had to be invented. It was invented by a doctor, basically, because she was getting phone calls at night when she was waiting for the hospital call for emergencies. That's when the reps found that they had to answer the phone, right? So back in the 70s, I think, right? So she invented that so she could figure out not to answer the phone. But that didn't even work. So the government had to get involved and create the do not call registry, right? About your car warranty, because remember, your car warranty is about to expire. And then came along email. Right. So spam filters had to be invented, but that wasn't good enough. Bush had to enact the CAN Spam Act. Now the next thing is LinkedIn. So LinkedIn message about 8 months ago, LinkedIn started using some AI, and they started drastically reducing the number of connection requests you can send a week. You can really only send about 100 connection requests a week. If you send more than that, you get locked. But it's not even the exact number. It's like a formula, and LinkedIn doesn't tell you what the formula is. So it's how many connection requests you have outstanding, plus how many you're sending. And then if you ever notice when you ignore a connection request, it gives you this little clickable link that says, "I don't know the person's name." That's telling LinkedIn that person is reaching out to people they shouldn't be reaching out to. So it's I know when people circle back in LinkedIn DM requests, for the love of God, stop circling back. Yeah, stop circling back. Stop using Liz Wendling. Don't use the F word. The whole follow-up thing. And circle back. And I agree with you. I agree with you, Eric. So the whole thing is, when we'll come all the way back to authenticity. So I want to engage with people. First of all, I want to show up on LinkedIn or Facebook or Instagram or Twitter or TikTok. I want to show up authentically with who I am. I don't want to try to be somebody else. I want to make my profile about my ideal client. I want them to see some value and find out what they get when they work with me. And then when I connect with people and I engage with people, I want to do that authentically. There's LinkedIn trainers say, "Oh, connect with someone and then endorse them for all their skills." Like, you don't even know them. Why would you endorse them for something?
Exactly.
That's so totally inauthentic. So I want to show up authentically, and I also want to connect authentically. And that means finding a reason for why I want to connect with Randy. Looking at his profile. So many people send me one guy just today, "Oh, you've had an impressive career." And so I haven't responded yet, but my response will be, "Really? What was impressive? What exactly did you find impressive about my career?" He hasn't even looked at my profile, right? So who looks at your profile. So that kind of thing is just, it doesn't work. And where do you go from there? Whenever you're connecting and pitching, you're reducing. I don't care if you're selling $1 million software or you're selling, a $50 iPhone case. Whenever you connect and pitch, you relegate your offering to a commodity. Yes. You're saying that anybody can buy this. and it's for anybody that'll connect with me. And my services aren't that way. You know, I work with specific people, and I want to find out if there's a match, and I want to find out if I can really help them, because if I can't, chances are I know someone who can.
Right. Yep. Awesome. That is brilliant stuff. I'm glad we got into that, because I know that's an area that a lot of people, even though us that do it a lot, you still struggle sometimes with the right way sometimes. So brilliant stuff. Well, Bill, I'm going to ask you a question here before I thank you for all the time you gave me and we get out of here, but would you come back someday again?
I would love to,
Because
Randy,
I think
anytime.
there's a million things that I would love to chat more about. So let's look at that. We'll look at
Yeah.
a late fall time and get you back on.
And so if it's late fall, I say we do it live next to the pool.
Perfect. And we will perm our hair. You have
Yeah,
to grow
no,
yours out a little bit.
that's not going to happen, buddy. Do you see?
Yeah.
No,
Well,
no.
yeah. Well, I like the lighting that I have just perfectly, because it makes it look like I got a little bit of dark, and except for the sides. The problem is that when I'm outside, it's like all white, which is I call it distinguished, but
Yeah, crown of wisdom. The Bible says that
exactly.
gray hair is a crown of wisdom.
I love
So
it. I love
that's what I fall on. I earned every single one of these gray
Absolutely.
hairs.
Absolutely. Last question, I'll let you out of here.
Yeah.
What do you call when you go to the barber shop to get a what? Do you get a what?
A buzz cut.
Okay. But do you get a haircut or a hair's cut?
Yeah, I get a haircut, and that's
See?
getting closer and closer
Yeah.
to truth.
See, so the reason I asked that, I don't even know why that came up, but I always call it a hair's cut, and my wife hates it because she thinks I'm an idiot, which she probably is. But I go, look, if I'm paying $45 at this nice little spot, I want them all cut, not just one or two.
So follow-up question: Do you call it a teeth brush?
No, no, it's a toothbrush, because I'm gonna brush them all, right? Hopefully. Yeah, exactly. Hopefully. Yeah, I hope you don't miss.
Yeah, hopefully.
Well, Bill, thank you very much. Any parting words before we rock on out of here for today?
Wes has been doing a great job down below
yeah.
adding and stuff. So, you know, look at me, find me on LinkedIn. I think the folks that have been on and commenting, I'm already connected with. But listen, if you're watching this, connect with me on LinkedIn. Send a note. Say, hey, I heard you on Building Wins Live with Randy, and I guarantee I will accept that connection request. So Thanks, Randy. Everybody have a great weekend.
Bill, my friend, I appreciate you. Thanks, brother.
Thank you, my friend.
All right, buddy. Bye-bye. All right. There you go. The one, the only Bill. Man, he is a font. I think it's a font. I always call it a fountain, but I think we'll go with a font of wisdom. Anyway, we will get Bill back sometime in the fall, because there's like a whole bunch of other questions. I could have went another couple hours and just chatted, even though we did some chatting back and forth via technology last night for an hour. But anyways, I hope you enjoyed that. And any questions, anything, any thoughts, reach out to Bill, reach out to me. I'll get you in touch with him. So what are we doing next week? Next week, we are going to have back to the industry a little bit. Jason St. John, an old friend of mine from quite a few years. I knew him back at when he was an inside sales guy. He's been an outside sales guy for years, kind of a younger version of me as a road warrior, and good friend. And we are going to chat just sales currently today, the environment, what's going on out there. He is in our industry, generally speaking. And I'm looking forward to a good chat with Jason. You'll love him. So until next week, remember to live it, love it, own it. And again, if you don't follow anything else I say, you just got to follow this one. Love what you do and do what you love, and make today your best day ever. Until tomorrow. Cheers, my friends.